All right. I think I'm like 2 hours in already, not including organizing my book earlier. I am probably 6, 7 hours deep into this right now, but we are moving along. Do what I can when I can, you know what? All right, so I'm going to do an Aquarius recap. Hopefully my leg doesn't die. Fall asleep. My leg fell asleep earlier. I almost want some heat. I finally got electricity out here in the shed. I'm in a corner, like this is the newer part of the shed or whatever, this huge building that's like added onto. And this part does not have electricity. So I finally like got 150 probably feet of extension cords going on here, and I've got 1, 2, 3 different I don't even know what the term is. It's like you plug everything into it, you know what I mean, like a bar or whatever. So I've got 3 bars attached to a very long extension, couple cords. And earlier, before I did this video or whatever, I had too much power going. I turned on my space heater and it killed everything. And I had to actually switch out an extension cord. So I figured out the issue and I'm debating turning that on now or not. So I don't think I'm going to, because I don't want to trip my electricity. My lights will go out and everything else. So anyways, let's do an Aquarius recap, or the INTJ, before we break down the 4 sections of the ego. So the 11th house created Aquarius. The 11th house represents the house of friends, hopes, wishes, long-term dreams, goals, intellectual pleasures, idealism, and vision. Aquarius is known as the visionary, the strategist, or the mastermind. All right, so the 11th house represents how we conduct ourselves in the public arena and with groups and organizations that have to do with our work, profession, or family, clubs, societies, political associations, ability to enjoy other people, and on the highest level, how everyone can work together with each individuality. It represents the unknown and unfamiliar. The unfamiliar is more distant than the 3rd house and not as relatable as the 7th house, but deals with communication still. The unknown deals with science, astrology, technology, occult, social media, cameras. These things can be known, but new things are always getting figured out in these mechanisms. And I'm laughing right now because I, as an Aquarius Mercury in the 11th house, I am obsessed with the astronaut symbolism. I, on my phone, actually on my ebook cover page is that of an astronaut with a, what do you call it? What you surf on? I'm at loss for words. A surfboard. So it's an astronaut with a surfboard looking out over the ocean, and it has a beautiful landscape of like the ocean, the stars. It's like purple and orange. It's beautiful. The cover of I made that my cover of all of my ebooks. It's Aquarius right there. The astronaut. I have like an astronaut, my keychain. I have like a little spaceship with water in it and glitter, and there's an astronaut on a surfboard. Like, I'm obsessed with that symbolism because that is the Aquarius. That is how I feel all the time. Like, I'm in it, but not of it. No matter where I am, I always feel like I'm in it, but not of it. And that's like a perfect recap of Aquarius. All right, so Aquarius knows how to deal with the public, associate themselves, and organize. They also know how to treat everyone the same, close people or distant people. And it also correlates with location and the vibe of that area. Don't forget that Aquarius is the water bearer. So air represents thinking and communication. Fixated, they are fixed sign. They are fixated on their own thinking and communication. So now these are going to be some notes that I'm throwing in here. I will probably say it again as I break down the 4 sections, but I wanted to add in a little bit more to the recap. So Aquariuses, they need open and honest people around them. Their virtue is trust and their vice is paranoia. So they can be very trusting of people until they have been burnt. And then for the rest of their lives, they will not trust anyone. I mean, it's really hard to gain their trust. So they can become paranoid with people screwing them over. So they need to, let's see. So that's the thing. And then their triple movement down through their ego, subconscious, unconscious, and superego psychologically. So they are triple movement. They are very quick-minded, but that can also make them jump to conclusions too quickly. They can be very anxious, high-strung internally. It's a mental thing. They're always in their head. But, you know, it's like it deals with the communication, but they are an introvert, and so they want to communicate, but they can tend to shut down and not communicate. It's a problem. So they are the most masculine. They are the top 4 masculine, I should say, of the personality types. They're very career focused. Huge thing. Oops, I lost my place here. They can be super narrow tunnel vision and and they focus a lot on working on their own goals. They can make themselves be a part of the pack. They see and communicate to everyone the same to the point it becomes bland. That's the way they can tend to separate. So they do a lot of separation, like Sagittarius. Sagittarius is detached for their own. Sagittariuses are also introverts, and they don't like to deal with the emotional realm. They don't like to communicate their own emotions, and that's Aquarius as well. Aquariuses can tend to separate because they need time alone. And so, but they are the water bearer and they do know how to communicate thoughts. They like to take far out things and communicate them more than Geminis or Libras. Aquariuses can be highly relatable and loyal, but they want to make you feel like they can switch it up on you. That's with the Uranus energy. Saturn makes Aquarius understand their boundaries and relationships, and they're able to detach that way. All right, so now that we have covered Aquarius's air element, fixed mode, temperament, we are now going to dive into the 4 sections of the ego itself. So first I will cover the astrological planetary influences, and then I will go into the psychological impacts through the cognitive functions, starting with the hero cognitive function and the ruling sign of Saturn and Uranus. So we're going to start with the home astrologically, or the ruling planet. So home first, I'm going to break that down. So we are breaking down what feels like home or the right thing to do for Aquarius through the lens of the ruling Saturn and co-ruler Uranus. So home is also represented by the right side. So the home is what we feel like the right thing to do is in most situations. This is a home feeling for you and what you are most comfortable in doing. The feeling of a planet within its own sign is one of ease. It feels comfortable to be home. It feels relaxed and unconcerned in its expression. It does not feel challenged at the same time, often reflecting attributes that are thought to be conventional in that realm of life. So that's what the home represents astrologically. So we have Saturn in home for Aquarius. So I'm going to break down what Saturn represents. So Saturn is an outer planet, and it can describe whole generations and periods of history. It is known as the god of the world and time, the energy of structure itself. Saturn represents how one controls and sets boundaries, how one sees reality, where we can gain structure and build structure through people, places, things, or resources, where one places and receives boundaries, restrictions, and limitations on self and others, potential creativity. And this can be venting emotional expressions or life blocks in general, or blocking emotional expressions. Saturn represents getting our acts together and is the father figure. So this is where the masculine leading father figure comes into play for Aquarius. So Saturn flows you towards being practical, making sense, building, growth, nourishment, caring, but is cold. It is created to be a container within, or cold can be a dryness, non-emotional awareness. So we can tend to replace it with material and physical things and logic. It can replace the feminine fulfillment, which is passion, fire, feeling, or emotions. We'll tend to repress the feminine fulfillment with masculine energies, or logic or practicality. Saturn's dedication to structure and discipline suits order in business and politics, as well as the physical frames upon which our buildings and bodies depend. Yet too much control can calcify our actions and attitudes, freezing the juices of creativity and rendering us impotent. There must be a limit to limitation. If we keep this in mind, we can benefit from the positive aspects of Saturn's control and strength. Saturn indicates where problems, restrictions, and barriers are likely in our lives and confronts us with the reality of impermanence. But Saturn presides over much more than failure and endings. As the planet of firm foundations, it can show us how to strengthen our endeavors and make them more sustainable. And this can also represent the fixed stubbornness of Aquarius. In understanding Saturn, we can make a friend who will never give false hope and will always be there to support us, providing a framework for our progress through life, just as it also presides over the skeletons that our bodies need to stand tall and the foundations that hold up buildings. With Saturn as our guide, we become more powerful by working with and mastering problems. So this is also where the mastermind portion of Aquarius comes into play. Mastering. Saturn is all about being the ultimate master, the ultimate, I'm the best at this skill, and that is very much so what Aquarians work on. Saturn has the longest cycle of all the visible planets, and also this comes into play with Aquarians being extremely loyal and extremely reliable. Now, Aquarians are going to try to throw you off of that. Aquarius has tried to act like they're more free and don't like structure and can, it's just like a thing. It's a vulnerability, but it's also their greatest strength. They are very loyal and dependable, but as they get hurt throughout life, they will try to throw people off and act like they're not. So that's like a huge thing. Saturn has the longest cycle of all the visible planets. For this reason, classical cultures represented Saturn as the father of time, an aged man who marked natural seasons in our lives. Saturn has a 29-year transit, which is 2.5 times longer than Jupiter, which means the planets are conjunct and opposed on alternate 10 years. This explains the ongoing struggle in our lives between expansion Jupiter and contraction Saturn, between opportunity and consolidation. Every year is also fine-tuned by the disparate timing of the two planets' retrograde motions. Saturn is the lord of the harvest and death, riding the heavens in a chariot drawn by winged dragon. Snakes coiled like spiraling DNA. Saturn structures our life, its ending, and its transcendence to higher consciousness. In ancient Babylon, Saturn was identified with the god Ninurta, whose name means Lord of the Earth. Ninurta was a god of rain and storms, fertility, and like Saturn, agriculture, as well as war, wells, canals, floods, and the plow. And we're starting to see where the water comes in with Aquarius, the water bear. He also released humans from sickness and the power of demons. The Roman Saturn was an ancient agricultural god, hence the Sith, who came to be identified with the Greek Kronos or Cronus, the ruler of heaven, who was overthrown by his son Zeus. His role as Father Time arose from association with the Greek for time Kronos. The Romans looked back to a mythical golden age when Saturn ruled and brought abundance and peace. They celebrated this each year with the winter solstice by a week of feasting called Saturnalia. During this time, normal social rules were turned upside down. The roles of master and slave were reversed, moral restrictions loosened, and etiquette ignored. That's hilarious, isn't it? It's just, why not? You know? Aquarians are very open-minded. And it's funny because I'm going to go on a side note here, just little personal thing, experience, whatever. So Aquarians are very open-minded, and I'm Aquarius Mercury, 11th house. Like, I'm very, very open-minded, and it is a good thing and a bad thing. But I'm just laughing because I don't really want to get into politics here, but Aquarians cannot freaking help it. Anyways, like, I'm very conservative and grounded. Like, I have a Capricorn moon, and I see this in my grandfather too. He's a Libra or ENTP, and like, we're very, very traditional, deep-seated roots. We're farmers, and we're like very structured business routine. But in the same breath, like, for example, my grandfather, he's a Libra ENTP. He was the first one in the neighborhood to buy an electric vehicle. And it's just kind of hysterical because I can see his open-mindedness and his progressive mind. And it's just a total thing because then he almost got windmills, and the whole like community got really mad and like called him Hitler, and it was crazy chaos. And they were trying to say, windmills, they kill a bunch of birds. And then he fired back with, your cats kill more birds per year than the windmills were. Anyway, ultimately, we never did get windmills on our farm. But it's just, he's open to that. He's like very open-minded. Libras are more higher risk, actually, than Aquarius because, like, holy crap, I'm like a strategist. Like, I want to plan out everything. I'm not that high risk, but very open-minded, obviously, because I'm combining many different systems here together to create my own thing here. So, yeah, side tangent over. Very open-minded. So in Indian astrology, Saturn or Shani has similar ambivalence to that found in the West. The planet presides over career and longevity, but can also bring bad luck and hardships. However, these aspects are complementary, and a strong Saturn in our chart should not make us downhearted or personality type. All right, so that was Saturn's influence on Aquarius as the ruling planet. Now I'm going to get into Uranus. Co-ruling Uranus. Uranus is a transpersonal planet. When asleep, it has rigid systems, waking, problem solving, awake, creative intelligence. So this is the creative intelligence within Aquarius. All right, so I'm not going to get into all of that. So Uranus is the god of the sky, the energy of awakening and sudden drastic change, how we are inventive as well. It is the shaper of worlds. Uranus symbolizes both creation and destruction. Since the planet's discovery in the 18th century, mankind's inventiveness has led to ambivalent outcomes. Industrialization brought immense benefits, yet also ripped society apart and damaged the natural world. Today, the planet has come to represent the creative power of the human will. And yes, Aquarius, they have introverted intuition hero. And so psychologically, this aligns a lot with Uranus in astrology. So, new inventions, theories, discoveries in relationships that may seem starting at first. The dynamic possibilities of Uranus are sudden, exciting, and earth shattering and dangerous. Such energy must be harnessed with care, but its very nature makes that difficult. Although Uranian inventiveness can be highly beneficial, its impetus may bring suffering in its wake, as seen in the brutality eyed out to perceived opponents of the French Revolution and the appalling conditions of workers during industrialization. The Uranian archetype associated with Promethean inventiveness can also be tyrannical and restrictive. The placing of Uranus in our chart or personality reveals the ease of our relationship with innovation, such as new technology, and whether we tend to accept or question conventional attitudes. A well-placed Uranus may indicate that we have innovative talent, but we should recognize that personal brilliance alone can have its limitations. We should avoid being didactic about scientific truth and vital social causes. Uranian arrogance can impose change on others for their own good, whether or not they want or need it. And that goes into extroverted thinking, which is in the parent cognitive function. Seeing it. Okay, so that's the Uranian energy within Aquarius. So now that was astrology. Now I'm going to get into psychology with the hero cognitive function, which is the home or ruling aspect of the personality type. All right, so what is the hero cognitive function psychologically? The hero function is our primary function, and let me pull up a master key card here real quick. All right, so the hero, we tend to develop the hero between ages 1 and 12, and the parent function between the ages of 12 and 20, the child between ages 20 and 35, and the inferior cognitive function between, just really ages 35 and above. So I wanted to make that as a side note here because I want to remind you that psychological development takes a lifetime of work, inner work. So the hero function is ages 1 through 12. That is the function we are working on between those ages. So the cognitive attitude of the hero function within the ego, it is an optimistic function. So it is one that we tend to rely upon the most. It takes the least amount of mental energy to use. So we are very good at this function. The attitude of the hero: bravery, conviction, courage, determination, helpful, honesty, inspirational, moral integrity, protective, self-sacrifice, selflessness, strength, competent, and confident. So the quotation for a NI hero: I'm heroic with what I want. So introverted intuition represents willpower, the future for self, one's own fate, and it apprehends ideas, patterns, and perspectives that emerge after processing from within. And I will break down what introverted intuition is more in the next section. So the hero cognitive function is the first gateway of the mind and the four sides, but doesn't start to develop until after the id in infancy, like I said earlier. I'm going to skip over that part because I already said that. So the hero is linked to the inferior cognitive function on a cognitive axis. The hero feels obligated. What happens to the hero happens to the inferior function. We need to develop the parent function within the ego for a sense of responsibility and the inferior function if we want a higher level of consciousness. We have to get our hero together in order to make our lives flow smoother, but the hero has inherent pride. The hero is prone to getting stuck in extremes, and it can take over the ego to the point we can become unconscious of it. So the hero is our autopilot function. It's like when you are driving your car from home to work, you do it every day. You do it so often that sometimes you will show up at work like, I don't even remember driving. We're good at it, but we can become autopilot here. But yes, it's like a ruling planet. That is definitely what we are good at. All right, so what is introverted intuition? This is what the Aquarius, I say we, as in I, also Aquarian Mercury, mind thinking. And so introverted intuition is what we are naturally really good at and what we autopilot on. So, introverted intuition is a subjective perceiving, taking in, or retrieving information type of process. So, NI, or introverted intuition, is on an axis with extroverted sensing. We have NI hero and SE inferior. You will always find NI with SE, introverted intuition with extroverted sensing. So introverted intuition, introverted intuits are users, find stability in imagination, and they explore with extroverted sensing by gaining context. And that can be by meeting and experiencing people, places, and things. Introverted intuition stabilizes the abstract, narrowing it down. So NISE, they can tend to have chaotic physical lives, so they're very in their heads, and it's hard for them to keep outer maintenance. They're maintaining their minds so much that it's hard to keep outer maintenance. Isn't that fun when your vehicle all of a sudden needs maintenance? Like, oh my God, I just had an oil change. I need another one. Annoying, right? All right, so introverted intuition focuses on the inward, on the internal world of thoughts, ideas, and concepts, as opposed to an extroverted function, which is focused on the world that is external to the mind. So rather than gathering information and coming up with conclusions based on the 5 senses, introverted intuition dominant types go deeper into processing, into their unconscious. This makes an NI user take longer to respond in conversation. And this is noticeable when in discussions, arguments, or trying to make decisions in general. They are usually not rapid quick with being decisive and prefer to sit on thoughts and study even deeper. Now, this is the case with Pisces more so than Aquarius. They are movement, triple movement, and I believe even triple systematic within their 4 sides of their mind. So Aquarians are going to make decisions a lot quicker than Pisces. Pisces are also NISE, NI dominant and SE inferior like Aquarius. So NI dominants prefer to focus on the future and can have a hard time paying attention to the present. This gives them that infamous straightforward stare like they aren't even there mentally, although they are physically. Looks like an intense but often space gaze. I definitely have that hardcore. The B face, right? They're driven to see the big picture and to understand how things work down at a fundamental root cause level. You can put NI users anywhere in any job, and they will eventually figure out what's really going on, whether they try or not. They love theories, concepts, and complex systems. They tend to be very strategic. Those with NI as their dominant function are good at spotting trends and patterns. They can easily connect the dots. Tell them what actions you have been taking, and they will tell you what the future implications are for you. Now, they're really good at doing that for other people. Their brains are simply wired to process data that way. They are experts at connecting the dots and telling you what will probably happen. All right, so in the past, people with introverted intuition have been known to act as oracles, fortune tellers, shamans, and medicine men and women. In fact, many people with dominant NI will tell you that while growing up, they had a lot of mystical experiences. So, yeah, NI is such it can be such a hard cognitive function to understand. For some reason, NI was really hard for me to understand more so than the others. It's intuition. It's not the thinking, the feeling, the sensing. It's intuitive. So it's abstract. It's not concrete. It's more in the mind. It's not in the physical. It was a cognitive function that I am dominant in through my ego, through my Mercury. I am very, very a Neptunian. I'm a very Neptunian person, although I'm ruled by Mars. But it's just a cognitive function, introverted intuition. It was really hard to grasp for me for some reason. And it's very mystical. I'll put it that way. It can seem very mystical. So, what does introverted intuition do? Searches for a deeper layer of meaning, looks for hidden patterns and trends, foresees implications and likely results, is the foundation of strategic thinking, sees things from many different perspectives, reads between the lines, looks for the unseen ripple effects of current experiences and actions, and looks for symbolism and significance beneath reality. Keynotes and words for introverted intuition. So NI users are literally able to will their way through life. It represents willpower, freedom, convergent, linear, deeper insight, inner perception. They enjoy tinkering with ideas, perspectives, theories, visions, stories, symbols, and metaphors. Thinking or cognitive processing occurs outside of their conscious awareness. Their best thinking is typically done without trying to think, at least not consciously. Like when you stop looking for something, you end up finding it. It's a deeper, it's a really deeper. Oh gosh, it can be so frustrating because I'm trying to think here. Geminis are also NI. Libras are NE. So Geminis have this in common with Aquarius. They can tend to overcomplicate breaking things down, but they can also master things that way. It's a longer process. They break things down and then restructure it in the thinking and theories and patterns and systems, very systematic. So they break everything down and build it back up. It's just a longer, grueling, it's a much more longer, grueling process. It can be very frustrating, but they can master things unlike anyone else. All right, so it does most of its, they do most of their, does most of its work subconsciously, causes them to be viewed as having some degree of psychic or prophetic abilities, relies heavily on visual than any other sense, thinks in images rather than words. That's why they're mind mapping a lot. They are known as the dreamers, the artists, the seers, concerned about big picture and holistic thinking. They have a strong sense of foresight and can serve as the driving force behind their desire to see their ideals actualized. They're very idealistic. Insights are associated with a gut sense of conviction and certainty. NI will take the vision and turn it into reality through mental transmutation. So that's why they're also known as the alchemist or magician. Plot yourself a course with NI, the one true path, the most efficient and effective path forward. So, extroverted intuition is all about looking at multiple paths. You can look at NI like a sniper rifle. It's like a sniper shot, one hit, one kill, one chance. They're very strategic. They're trying to take one chance on something and they're going to plan it out. And then extroverted intuitive users, they see it's like a buckshot, multiple different. They will try to go through they will do fail forward. They tend to fail forward better, and they see many opportunities. Now, NI users, they're more about one path forward. They do their research first, and then they try to find the most effective, efficient way towards that one goal. Hopefully that was coherent. Okay, so where was I? The individual knows deep down what they want for their own future and wants to stay focused on their goal and focused on their path. NI is extremely tunnel vision, like I said. NI is also known as the luck cognitive function, seeming to always run into good luck. They can seem to be scattered or only see their own way. They need freedom in their thinking and ability to communicate. They enjoy tinkering, but the tinkering is more in the mind. So they definitely can be really good at solving complex issues. They tend to be strategic rather than tactical, and tactical people are more in the moment. So they are definitely chess players, strategy-wise. They tend to put a lot of pressure on themselves and can be very critical of themselves. And I think that's all I want to break down with what introverted intuition is. I do have a section on introverted intuition within the 12 Astro-Psychological ego personalities, but I'm not going to break that down in this video. I will make that its own video at some point in its own ebook. So I'm going to skip all of these pages. It's a lot. Actually, I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Actually, I think I'm going to go over this because I added a hell of a lot. Yes, I'm actually going to get into this. Yeah, this is actually decent enough that I'm going to... What's the next section here? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm going to get into this. Okay. Excuse me. I organized this a lot better than I thought. I really hit this heavy because I'm a Pisces ego and Aquarius mind. So I took my diligence and time on this. I need to add to the other ones a little bit more, but I did hammer introverted intuition was the first cognitive function I tried to hammer out because I didn't understand it. So, all right, I'm going to take a break and then get into this and then move on to the next section. So I hope you're enjoying this so far. Like and subscribe. Feel free to leave a comment. Check out my ebooks. And I will be back.